Welcome to another Out of Spec Scoots video, and welcome to CES 2022. We are here with Valeo, and they are doing some really cool stuff with these cars. They're developing thermal management systems, and with the AMI, which you can see in another video of the Out of Spec reviews, we just reviewed this 48-volt electric systems. Now I have with me some e-bikes. I have a cruiser, a cargo bike, and maybe my personal favorite, the mountain bike. And they're adapting systems to existing bike frames. These are all kind of production or pre-production prototypes. They're really just a showcase of their systems and what they're capable of. But it's really quite cool with their battery and their kind of all-in-one motor and 7-speed automatic transmission on your bike and the control system up here. So with these systems, they can do like 250 watt power in Europe, is that right?
Yeah,
and
you're right.
750 watts in the US continuous, which is restricted by the government, but that is
Kilowatt peak.
yeah, 1,000 watts peak power, which is awesome. And yeah, it's really just pedal assist and 130 Newton meters of assistance capable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's that'll do essentially whatever you put in with the pedals, 8-fold assistance to your feet, which is really great. So today I'm going to be riding all three of these bikes, and it is actually important to note that this is my first time experiencing e-bike, which is really cool to jump right on with this technology. I have with me here Guillaume. He is with Valeo, and it's important to note Valeo is not the manufacturer of these bikes. They produce the systems. So Guillaume, how does that sales process work? Like, how do you approach the manufacturer and say, here's what we have for you?
So yeah, it's a good question. So as you said, we are selling the mid-drive, the batteries, and the display. So what we have to be sure is to be sure that this system is compatible with all the bike manufacturers. So our system will go serial in June 2022. We already have something like 10 customers that are already ready to support for next year. So we discussed with all these customers to be sure that our product is compatible with all the frames.
Yeah.
So we will launch an offer that is off the shelves, and all the manufacturers can take it and adapt it to their bikes.
So you provide all the exact specifications, and it's up to them to adapt it to an existing frame or a whole new frame they develop for you.
Exactly.
Very cool. And you said middle of next year, or middle of this year actually. It is
Middle of this
2022
year, yeah,
now.
This is already happening.
Wow, amazing. So yeah, I guess I'll take each of these bikes around. But first, what's the battery pack size?
So battery, we have three kinds of battery.
Okay.
Low power, low capacity is 500 watt-hours.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have 650, and the top is 1,000 watt-hours.
Excellent. Wow. Yeah, 1 kilowatt hour. That's great. And then, yeah, so how does the charging work actually? Is it just this port on all the bikes?
Yeah, charging, I would say, is up to the customer. We have different battery arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
So this battery is a full in-tube battery, so you cannot remove the battery, you can charge there. Or you might be more familiar with battery that you clip just like that. And here you can charge the battery outside of the bike.
Yeah, very cool. So you could have multiple batteries if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Very cool, swap them in and out. And then with this controller, can you actually walk me through what you have to actually do on this to affect your riding?
Yeah, sure. So you have different modes, so we can start by that. Okay, so here you have a mode Eco.
Yep.
If you are very sportive, very big legs, you don't need to have too much assistance, up to you. Then we have what we named the mode Predict. So basically it gives assistance to your way of pedaling. So each person that will take the bike will have its own assistance. The Turbo mode.
Turbo,
so if
there
you
we
have
go.
very thin legs, you don't want to force, you just have to use that. And that's it.
Yeah, and so the Predict mode, so that's kind of cool. It's kind of like every person who gets on the bike has a unique riding experience because the bike determines what power you're putting into the pedal, right?
Exactly.
And it will assist you based on that.
Exactly.
Very cool. So it's like having a different mode for each person, but you don't actually program the mode. The bike just learns on the spot with AI, you said.
You're right, exactly.
Very cool. So this specifically here is the cargo bike, and it can carry 350 kilograms. So that's nearly 750 pounds of cargo on the back, which is great. And to tell us how this motor actually works. This is a little specific to this bike, and there's actually, what, an anti-theft?
Yeah, there is anti-theft, so this is also something that you can have on other bikes. But just to show, this bike is made for, you know, Amazon, DHL, last delivery makers. So quite often the guy can leave the bike as it is. So just to be sure that nobody is taking the bike with the merchandise, we have what we name anti-theft. So I will show you, you just have to push this button. And the bike is asking you, do you want to lock your bike? You just have to say yes. And then Jordan, you can try to...
Just free spin. So yeah, I can't take this anywhere. Wow, that's
I mean,
cool.
you can, but you won't do a lot with that. Huh?
Yeah. Very
Okay.
cool. And then there's a reverse function on this bike too as well.
Yeah, there is a reverse, and there is also a walk assist. So I will show you. So you have very loaded bike. You cannot push with your own strength. So you just have to use this. And I am in walk assist. So as you can see, 1 kph forward, and I can do the same backward.
Nice.
So very useful, you know, to do some maneuver in the streets.
And the other bikes have a little paddle here. At least that's how you showed it for the walk assist. So in case you're
Exactly.
stuck on a hill or just need a little oomph to get going. Yeah.
You're right, you're
Below
right.
10 kph, right?
Up to 10 kph, and with 350 kg, we are able to take off with a slope at 14%, 1.4, which
Wow.
is quite massive. Huh?
All right, so again, it's a 7-speed automatic transmission, but how does it actually choose what gear to go into when you're riding the bike?
So yeah, it's a good question. So it's a balance between the RPM that you are putting, okay, and the torque that you are requesting with your legs.
Okay.
So basically, the motor is calibrated to detect 70 RPM as nominal cadence, and as soon as you decrease the cadence, and you can feel, the system can feel that you are forcing a bit, we switch, and the opposite. If you are too fast and also less torque, it switch.
Okay.
So it's always, I would say, a kind of a matrix between the cadence and the torque that you are putting on the pedal.
So there's a bunch of sensors inside that are detecting that.
We have torque sensors, speed sensors, and we are just analyzing the signals coming from that.
Very cool. Well, yeah, I'd love to get this out on the road and see how it feels. All right, so I am messing with the display now. I have light control here. You can actually see the light going off and on, which is awesome. And there are 4 modes, it looks like: no assist, low, high, and predict. So I'm actually doing a really quick test with just no assist. I just want to ride the bike effectively. Let's see here. Yep, there we go. That is normal bike riding. So right up here, I'm going to stop and change it to low. And let's see how this feels. Wow, so I can immediately feel the engine or motor just kind of gradually pulling it. It's not really doing a whole lot, but it feels like just a much better gearing. Now I've got to high. Oh, there we go. That's like boost mode. This is great. So I can just kind of cruise around the bends and then pull into the straights. Yep, exit on, power on exit. Pulling on the brake there. So now I'm going to switch to predict and see how this feels. So it's really paying attention to what my legs are doing. And oh wow, that's really interesting. So as I pull around the bends here and I really kick on it, I can really feel the transmission effectively selecting a much higher or lower gear depending on how much I'm really pushing onto the pedal, especially on the pushing forward. This is really quite fun. And so this is going to be a really interesting system to adapt to other bikes. So that's a pretty good feel for this bike, the City Cruiser. And now I'm going to switch to the mountain bike. Woo, that was fun. All right, so I just finished on the Cruiser, and I want to point out, so Scoot's channel is young. We just started this, and this is me and Kyle's first attempts at riding e-bikes. So that was actually my first official ride on an e-bike. So I don't know if it was good or bad, but I had fun, which is pretty important, I'd say.
How did the shifting feel?
So the shifting was really interesting because you don't really feel it happening, but you can tell it's happening. The reason that is because like your pedal as you fall into the, I guess, front, it's like that's what it uses to detect how hard you're pressing. And then by the time it actually shifts is when you're picking it back up again and you don't really know. Like you're not feeling it shift, it's just happening while you're in motion. It's really weird. So I'm excited to see how this one compares because this feels like a much beefier bike. Like that one is so lightweight. You can probably feel the systems a bit more. Oh wow, yeah, this is much more aggressive. So I have this on turbo mode and I'm just gonna start it with that. Let's see how this goes. Oh God. So I can feel Wow, yeah, I can hear a bit more on this one. That's interesting. I can hear the noises more on this bike, but the same overall experience. It really does feel like turbo. Like on a car, you're getting into turbo with the transmission just shifting and the electric motor taking over for you. But I could see how you could ride this around town for miles and really not use much energy at all. At least for your legs. Your legs would be spared a lot. So I'm gonna switch modes here to eco mode. So where the other bike had basically low, medium, and high, this one seems to have it renamed. This is a slightly different control system on this bike here. Almost like a second gen prototype. So yeah, eco is just very, a little bit of assist, but still feels like I'm riding a bike. It's just feels like I'm using less energy. And then predict. Predict might be my favorite, almost because, ironically, I don't know what to expect. It's unpredictable. But it's fun to see how it gauges what input I'm putting into the pedals. This is a blast. I know it's just a circle. I wish there were like hills and mountains here, but perhaps back in Colorado we can get one of these and really put it on its paces on mountain bike trails. After all, that's essentially our entire backyard behind the studio is just mountains forever. So we have use cases for cars, and then with the out-of-spec scoots, we can really take them on the mountains. All right, cargo next. This is gonna be interesting. All right, last but not least, but certainly biggest.
You're rocking on that.
This is the cargo bike.
Trike.
I reckon I could almost throw in a me on the back of this and haul it around town. Wow. So they said this is the beast, as Guillaume said. So I'm going to start on low and just see how this feels. Oh, I'm going to use the walk mode to get started though. Very gradual. Wow, so that's really, I can feel this big thing on the back. It's like towing a trailer on a bike. Good thing I'm not graded on staying in the lines in this case. All right, that's low. I really like predict. Let's see how that, wow. So that walk feature is really great to get this started because it is so heavy. But I just switched it to predict mode. And yeah, good thing I'm not graded on staying in the lines. It's just so much weirder to drive this bike because of the two wheels behind you. You're not like leaning into it and directly controlling the curve with that. You're really focusing on turning your wheels. But this is not a review on that. This is the assist itself. And in predict mode, wow. So I wish they had a, a huge pallet I could throw in the back of this as an example, because I'd love to see how the load is actually affected by my riding, or vice versa actually. But yeah, it's so weird. The leaning on this is entirely different than the other bikes. How's it look? This is fascinating. Yeah, what a like big, heavy, it's like I'm towing a trailer, but I don't really feel it that much. So I'm thrilled. That was a good first experience on 3 completely different feeling bikes, but with this really cool system that adapts them.
So at the end of the day, automatic transmission or manual?
I actually like the automatic. Sometimes I like being in control, but I like how effortless this was, and it really didn't, I hate the manual transmission, like gear crunching while you're changing it. That's like one of my least favorite sounds. It's like one of those things that gets on your nerves. So this is nice that it just goes.
What if it had paddle shifters?
Paddle shifters would be nice, like a manual override. Maybe that's for the future.
Ride it on out.
Woohoo! Walk assist.